Welcome to Plant-Powered Business Strategies to Grow Your Positive Impact. My name is Johanna, and I'm here with my amazing co-host Brieanah, as always.
Hey everyone.
And today we're gonna dive into something, a very special topic that we've kind of touched on in a few episodes before, but that we never really got into in depth. And I'm really excited and looking forward to that. We're gonna be talking about brand voice. But before that, we have a big announcement to make. We're celebrating 2 years of plant-powered business. Woohoo!
Woo! I can't believe it. It's been 2 years.
Yeah, actually it was last month, so April. But we realized it a little bit too late. But yeah, it's better late than never. And yeah, this just feels amazing to be here with you and with with you, Brieanah, and everybody listening. Like I never would have guessed that that we make it this far, and I really hope that we're gonna keep going. What do you think our secret is? Why are we still here doing this
Oh,
podcast?
what's
And
the
YouTube
secret
too.
sauce?
Yeah.
Um, I think we just work really well together. I think if you are going to go into some sort of venture or, fun side project, business, what have you, with a partner, finding someone that really balances you is key and that you get along with. Like over the 2 years, this podcast has grown from, hey, let's just randomly record a video and see what happens on social media to our virtual assistant is editing the videos, helping us create reels now. Like we never thought we would have a separate dedicated YouTube channel for this. Like, it's just grown to so many things because we have fun doing it. And we've, invested the time and resources into it as it's grown as well. So, but I think at the core, the secret sauce is finding someone that you have a good rapport with, that you share values and similar interests with, so you can bounce ideas off of each other. And then it's interesting. Now we have the coffee chat. So obviously other people are engaged on the topics we're talking about and find the things that we say engaging because they're joining the coffee chats to continue the conversations, right? So it's just really blossomed into something cool. But at its core, you're awesome and we work well together.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've said this before, but for sure, if I had to do this all alone, I wouldn't be here. It's really
No.
like that we lift each other up and energize each other, and yeah, and that like we share like a common vision. That's of course like everything. And for anybody listening who's maybe like considering starting something, I could like I can totally recommend doing it together with somebody else, and also like give it some time, to get, you know it's going to take some time for you to find your groove and like get it going. I feel like I'm still, get nervous and fumbling and whatever, but I feel like it's just like in the last 6 months or something that I've started to really feel like, okay, like I know what we're doing here, we know what we're doing here, and like we have this flow. So things take time. And it was really amazing to hear at our last coffee chat. And somebody mentioned that that she likes to listen to us specifically because it's both of us, that it's like both of our kind of points of views and journeys and thoughts and ideas. And I, yeah, couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, everyone that's listened, that has liked a video, that has been on the show. We couldn't have done this without you, but I totally echo what you said, Johanna. If you're wanting to start something like this or a different venture, just give yourself space and time, but start
Yeah.
before you have everything lined up because we definitely didn't see it coming to where it is today. We didn't have a podcast channel like reserved on Apple before we started this or anything like that. You don't need everything. Just start and see where it goes because it can lead to some pretty cool places.
Yeah, absolutely. Messy action.
Yes.
Okay, so then shall we move on to our topic?
Do it. Brand voice.
Yeah, brand voice, which is one of my favorite topics when it comes to copywriting and marketing, because like you get to dive deep and really scratch so much like beyond the surface and everything. And maybe like a good place to get started is to talk a little bit about what brand voice actually is. And how do you see it, Brieanah? Like how would you like describe it to a client or in
Yeah.
general? What does it mean
Yeah,
to
hit me
you?
with the big questions right
Yeah.
off the bat. What is brand voice? I think when I sit down with a new client, like let's say it's a new business or they're wanting to refresh or talk about how they're showing up on social media or in the world, we usually start with brand voice, and to break it down and make it seem like this less scary, esoteric marketing idea. I ask them what makes them unique, what's their unique perspective, why did they start the business or organization that they started, and what's their story, what's the why behind it, all those questions that come up and bring out their values, their passions, their motivations, how they see the world that's unique to everyone else. Really, at its core, for me, brand voice is that unique voice in a very crowded space. If we all sounded the same online, it would be a very boring place to be. And so helping people realize what makes them unique about what they do is the core for me, in brand voice work, and really sets that baseline that we can build from for the brand itself.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I like to think about it in a simple way, like in terms of personality, that it's kind of like the like personality of your brand, like whether you have a company or you're just a one person operation. In that case, it can be like very close to who you are as a person. But what what makes us like in individuals, so you can even in brand voice, you can think about it in the same way, like your like values, like how you express yourself, your kind of tone. And but I think it's important to understand that it's more than the tone, like it's more than the words, like your energy. I guess that's a in a nutshell what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're
And
so right that it's more than the tone, though. Like people hear the word voice and they're like,
yeah,
oh, okay. So I say like, or I use emojis, or I curse, like that's my brand voice. And it goes a little deeper than that. Like your brand voice goes into your story too, right? And so how people can see themselves in you or in your brand and really identify you, become those champions cheering you on behind the scenes.
yeah, one reason why I like this topic so much is that, or that I'm happy that we're talking about it, is because I have the feeling that not all businesses in general, but also like vegan businesses, like purpose driven, like entrepreneurs, don't exactly like understand the importance of clarifying your brand voice and like its meaning. So my hope is that we like through this podcast we can kind of share some of some of the
Sure.
like I don't know, like wisdom, why it is so important, why it makes sense to like put some effort into that. I think there's some misconceptions out there, like apart from that, it's your voice is just the tone. Yeah, I have a like bunch of questions in mind that I was thinking it would be helpful to talk about. But I think like in a very simple way, like why your brand voice matters is that it's the thing that makes you like memorable and like recognizable and in the best case even like unforgettable. Like people will recognize you from your messaging, like recognize your values, like what it is that you want to do in the world, like across like different platforms, like whether it's your emails or like a launch or social media or you're in a podcast.
No, I think it's such a good point that
Yeah.
it is what makes you memorable. When
Yeah.
at least clients that have come to me often, starting a new business, the first I fell for this trap, right? You start a new business, what's the first thing you want to create? Logo,
Yeah.
colors,
Yeah.
website, social media platform, like those visual things, because we're like, oh, if I have this, then I can look at it and that means it's real, right? And so people get caught in the visual aspects of a brand all too easily. When I've had these rebranding or new branding conversations with people, it's always been like, well, what about our colors? What do you think of our colors? Should we redo our colors? And I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe, but like let's spend some time over here first. And that might be because we're biased as copywriters, but I think there is some weight and power in the words that you use and how you
Yeah.
talk to people that sticks with people. it goes back to that old adage of people might forget what you say, but they'll never forget how you make them feel.
Yeah.
And that usually goes to saying something about someone that's hurt you, but it really sticks in marketing too, because they might not remember exactly what the meme said. You've probably sent your friends memes and you're like, oh, it was something like this and someone was doing that, but it was so funny. I'll send it to you later, right? They remember how it made them feel. And
Yeah.
so the same thing goes for your brand. The words that you use, how you show up, what you share, all of that sticks with people on an emotional level, and that's where you connect with them. You really think they're connecting with the color red over the color
Yeah.
purple? Probably not. But they're connecting with how you're sharing about your brand, and those are the words you use and the tone of voice that you use in that brand voice, that story that we're talking about today.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks so much for that. Like that is so good, and I totally agree. And I think that is again like one of the misconceptions that the branding has to do with the visual side and the logos and all of that. But yeah, just as you said, yeah, the internet is visual. Yeah, the emotional resonance and everything. It's so much through the words and like the power of words and the emotions they carry. So another kind of misconception that's out there, or like that I've come across like when working with clients, is that you somehow have to be something special or like quirky. Like, I mean, Oatly is a great example, like from a very like a brand that has a very like clear brand voice. And I feel like people or other like, well, oat milk brands or whatever vegan brands like fall into this trap that they think that that's what you have to do like to become successful or to make it. And it's like it couldn't be more wrong, because it's not about like having to like perform anything. And especially if you're just like a one person operation, it's not about being something that you're not. I feel like it should be based on like who you are, and if anything, it's like that version like amplified. I feel like the way I am like as me, and then like my brand voice, it's like they're very close, but there is a bit of a difference there. And I feel like in writing, it's, for example, for me, it's like easier to be like more direct somehow, or like more, I don't know, like amplified, like easier to say some things that necessarily wouldn't say when I'm just talking like that. So that's like one thing, like being something that you're not like extra quirky, whatever. And then
Yeah.
another thing that I've come across often is that especially like mission driven, or like let's say there's like a vegan web designer, like this is based on a true story, who's very like like mission driven, vegan, like has an animal rights background, and I helped them like clarify their brand voice, and they were so hesitant to actually like own their past, like own their activist past, and instead felt like they have to be somehow like more professional or like neutral, because yeah, like many people have this fear that if you really like show your values, like your personality, it's not gonna appeal to people. But I think that's, it's their brand at the end, like it's their call. But I really always try to encourage people to trust that when you actually say something, like when you actually like share what you want, it's that resonance thing, like the thing we've talked about here too so often, that if you try to appeal to everyone or like some theoretical person out there, you're probably not gonna appeal to the right people, like the ones
Yeah.
that are just like waiting for you. So yeah, that's like a couple of things that came to my mind. I don't know if you've come across this, like watering down your message, or thinking you have to be something like yeah, perform.
Sure, sure. I think there's a few things in there, right? Like
Yeah.
you touched on a couple great ideas here. Um, a quick like clarification too. There's personal branding and then there's branding
Mm.
for your business, right? And they don't always overlap. In many cases, like maybe with your web designer, if she's a solopreneur, it is her personal brand. And that's where really leaning into your personal story makes a ton of sense. It might not always, depending on your niche or your company, they might be separate. Like you mentioned, your brand voice is a little different than things you might have said as yourself individually, right? And that's where you can have that separation as you discover your story and how you're showing up as your brand. What are things that Johanna herself would say versus the brand, Johanna. And you can find that distinction. They'll probably be very similar as you shared yours
Mm.
are. But when the brand takes on its own identity and is speaking to someone specifically or has a niche that might require a little bit more formality, like maybe it's law, maybe it's science, more of those academic spaces, then that's okay. And that's where then your personal brand and who you are as an individual can be something that you build to support that.
Yeah,
And they can work together in a really cool way too. And again, sometimes they're one and the same, especially for those solopreneur or founder type stories. So, for example, one that comes to mind in the vegan space is Pinky Cole and Slutty Vegan that has Slutty Vegan as its own voice, and Pinky has her own personal brand, but she uses a lot of her own story and is very transparent in her entrepreneurship journey with the Slutty Vegan brand. So while Slutty Vegan does stand on its own, has its own story, its own accounts, and shares its own content, Pinky is still pretty involved, and there's a lot of overlap between the two. So if you're curious of, some of these examples out there of, okay, I'm a founder, I have a lot to share. Where's the line between what I share as my business and as myself? That's one that you might look at and see how she's sharing things. It's a brand and a person that I admire in this
yeah.
space. And you talked about Oatly and the other businesses that fall into that trap of trying to be like Oatly just to keep up. I think it's such a good point that we see one thing succeeding and we're like, oh, that's the standard. That must be what you
Mm.
have to do. And even in personal branding, in the age of social media, we see, these influencers with hundreds of thousands of followers. Oh, okay, that's the type of content I have to post if I want to be successful. No, not
Yeah,
necessarily. That's where what you're saying about being yourself and showing up, you might be the person that a whole nother sector of the internet is waiting for. You might share the perspective that people are wishing would be shared on a higher scale, and they're just waiting for you to say it. So I think, at least personally, something that I've run into with what I share online and how I show up as a personal brand has been this comparisonitis between
yeah,
seeing what other people are sharing. Oftentimes, it's this glossy, perfect world, right? That's what influencers are selling. And I'm like, oh, okay, all of my posts have to be like polished and perfect. And honestly, when I share something more vulnerable, that's when I get the most engagement.
yeah,
When I share something more human and less like perfectly polished in Canva with a pretty graphic, those don't get great engagement. But when I'm more human as a personal brand, that's when I get more engagement. And so I share this just so that people, when they're thinking of their own brand and how they want to show up in the world and how they want to share their voice, like you said, with your web client, they felt like they kind of had to hide parts of themselves. I encourage people, if you feel similarly to Johanna's client, to just try, even if it's in an Instagram story and it disappears after 24 hours, but
yeah.
try sharing like your coffee that morning, walking your dog that afternoon, just little pieces from your life, and let your audience show you that they're hungry to get to know you. They want that personal aspect of the brand. And you can share that from your business account if that's something that you're comfortable with. Again, it depends on your niche, it depends on how the voice is set up. If you're looking to refresh it, integrate more parts of yourself, you can experiment with things like stories or a post can always be removed. So nothing is permanent, just test and see what your audience is hungry for.
That's such good advice. And on that, like I think one of the big mistakes is overthinking it, like overthinking, like getting stuck, like honing your like personal brand or brand voice. You get better at writing, like whether it's like captions or anything else. You get better at writing by writing, putting things out there, and it's like yeah, sharing about you, not just your business. Like I definitely had like when I started showing up or like starting my copywriting journey, yeah, had this feeling that I have to be posting like this valuable educational content and it needs to be like very polished and all of that. But I feel like the more experience I gain and the more I see that what actually works, that it's a balance of those two, like you being you and like like I don't know, raw or unfiltered, real, like whatever fits your brand, like your personality. Mix that
Absolutely.
with the work related, mission related, like whatever it is that you do, but like don't overthink it. One thing that came to my mind, that something that has helped me a lot, like a few years ago, like to clarify like who am I really, like as a service provider or like business owner, was like looking into all of these archetypes. There's like plenty of resources online, like these tests you can do. There's this, the explorer and sage and rebel, all these, like there's like 12 these, like, or I guess it's 12, like Jungian archetypes. And I found it very helpful to understand like how kind of like nudge me in the right direction, or like like help me find the direction, like where to go, like what makes me unique, or what do I like vibe with. Because yeah, I was like overwhelmed, like I had an idea like on how I want to communicate and use words. So if that resonates, like I would recommend like trying those out, and see if you can like pick up some kind of guiding light from there. Because like all these archetypes, like they have kind of like different values and like driving, like what the word is, like what drives them. And I feel like now I trust myself more, or somehow like my voice and personality, that I don't need to like stick so like like directly to that. But yeah, there was a time that it was very helpful, and I've also worked with the archetypes with my clients. So how about you? I know you've also done some work on that, Brie.
Yeah, yeah. I found it interesting. I don't remember what I am.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't something that sounds like it had as much impact as it did for you, which is amazing.
Yeah,
But that just speaks to that everybody's different.
yeah,
You find
yeah,
a tool that works for you and you embrace it. For me, like it felt a little bit like an astrology thing. You know what I mean? Like
okay.
you find how you are as a Gemini or whatever it is. Oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. And then you just move on.
Yeah,
And you might come back to it and say, like, okay, is there a way that I can lean into more explorer or whatever it is? But that's just where experimentation came into play for
yeah,
me. So I tried a few posts that leaned more heavily into some of the things that came up when I delved into that. But I can't say that it's been a guiding light for me personally. I think for me, if like me, you you look at the tools and you're like, okay, this is a lot of structure. I feel the pressure to fit into structure. Maybe a way for you to go about it would be to find accounts out there, brands out there that you admire, see how they're showing up, see how they're sharing their story and the tone of voice they have, how they share their story and how they interact with their clients, and mimic how they use their tone, how they tell their story, the words that they use, how they're showing up in the different ways. This isn't meant to say, hey, go copy everything Oatly does, because we've already covered that it's
yeah.
not always the way for every brand, right? But this is to be a sort of inspiration. Like if you're a Pinterest board person and you're, getting all these inspo boards and vision board situations for your personal life, that might mean that you need like external inspiration for your brand as well, for your business as well. So that's something that worked for me is especially when I was first starting out as a freelancer. What do freelancers post? How do they share with their clients? What are they sharing? Like doing market research in that way and finding your section of the internet that resonates with you. Because if that messaging resonates with you, there's a reason, right? And so if you're trying to attract people, that understand the way you speak, it's probably going to be in a way that resonates with you. So trying to see what works for you, what works for your business, what other people are saying, so you can see how you want to talk to people. Yeah, experimentation, honestly, was my way of kind of defining, and even still today, there are things I'll post in my stories that I'm like, I have no idea if anyone will actually care about this, but I'm going to post it anyway because I feel like I want to. I want to share that side of my life or my business. I want to share what's going on. If you're a little nervous to share too much of yourself, perhaps a gateway into sharing more from a personality standpoint would be to pick a pillar of your business. Let's say you're a vegan beauty brand. Why in all of the things that you could have been for beauty did you decide to go cruelty free? Why is one of your values being cruelty free? If you share the why, that's sharing the motivation, that's sharing who you are and what your values are. So you're letting people in through that more structured mindset of this is one of our core values, this is a selling point for our product, but you're telling a story and you're connecting with people that share that value.
On that, I was also thinking about. So I find that like really like reflecting on like what it is, like why it is you do what you do, and like how to like share that on social media or wherever, like that it's like good to take some time to write things down, and really like things that even like seems like so self-evident for you. It's like this is related to what you just said. Like it's like trust that is like incredibly interesting for the right people. And also like thinking about like since we're talking to like vegan business owners here and like purpose-driven people, like we're all like trying to like smash some sort of a status quo, or at least like we're questioning some sort of status quo. So what is that? Like talk about that stuff. Like I think for me that's like one like core thing in your brand voice. Not we're doing this because we're ethical vegans, like that's one level, but also like in your field or your niche or the sector, like what's the status quo there, like based on like you have a lot of experience doing your like work. So like what are things that you can't stand there, like that you want to do differently?
Because you become that rallying
Yeah.
force for your
Yeah.
people, right? And like we were saying before, there might be a whole sector of the internet that's just waiting for someone to say that super obvious
Mm.
thing.
Yeah.
And then you come out and you're like, animal rights, blah, blah, blah. And you're just, this is why I'm vegan. And it's something that they haven't heard before because it's said through your voice. Even if it's a theme or a value or a concept that's been said before, your perspective, your voice on it might be the way that resonates with them the most. So
Yeah.
even if you feel like it's been said, like I went vegan because for the animals, I saw factory farms and I couldn't stand it. Your experience of seeing animals suffering in factory farms is different from mine. It's different from my neighbors, right? And so the more that we share our unique perspectives, the more someone else is going to say, yeah, the way that you said it, that resonated with me. Finally, someone gets it, right? And so you're helping the next wave of advocates, the next wave of this movement, which is why we started this podcast, was to support the broader movement that we loved. It's not just all about marketing. Um, we're standing up here, we're saying we're vegan, we're pursuing our ethical businesses, we're supporting other business owners in this space, right? And we're sharing our perspectives on how we founded our business, which we've already shared very different perspectives on brand voice in this episode.
Mm.
So just by sharing our perspectives, we're sharing our brand voices. We're
Yeah.
showing up as our personal brands. And you guys are resonating, just like you said, that person on our last coffee chat shared. She likes listening to our podcast because there's different perspectives. So it's just a full circle thing that I'm trying to convey to our audience here is that there isn't a right way.
Yeah.
Someone is waiting to hear your perspective. Your perspective matters. You deserve to take space on the broad world that is the internet and say what you feel and why you started your business and why you're there doing the dang thing every day. Because someone is going to be so excited to be your raving fan.
Yeah.
You just don't know it yet.
Wow. Thank you. That is so beautifully put. And it's like something I feel like so strongly about, like in general, that every one of us, like you, me, like everybody who's listening to this, like our voice, like whether it's just our voice or our like brand voice, like yeah, it's just as valuable as any other brand out there, like the like I don't know, multi-billion dollar like
Yeah,
brand, like our, yeah, our message and our voice matters, and the only way to get clear or clearer about it is, yeah, is to share your voice, and
yeah,
trust that the people are out there, as you said, but also that I think it comes down to like trusting yourself also, like trusting that you're
yeah.
allowed to take space, like you said. I think that's why like I love doing brand voice work so much, actually. Every time when I start working with a new like copywriting client, I take them through this like brand voice like session where there's like a whole bunch of these kinds of like deep questions that we go through, because I feel like so many people, purpose-driven people, mission-driven people, like we make ourselves so much smaller, like we kind of hide behind this like whatever professional mask, or don't dare to take the space, but we need to, like we should, like don't want to say to anybody what they have to do, but we are needed and our voices are needed. And when I get to work with somebody, it's so like empowering for me and for them to like realize that, yeah, I do have so much to say, and like I am different from everybody else, and I have the right to take space. And one final thing I wanted to say is that actually this work, it's so much easier, I find, to do with somebody else, like who understands brand voice, like especially if you have like a bigger company already, or you're growing and you want to, focus on something completely different. It can be like very helpful to get like a copywriter or like brand voice specialist to like kind of coach you or work through this, like to clarify, if you feel like you're in that space, because it can get a bit messy, but yeah, that's why I really love this work.
It's
Empowering, I
such a
find.
good point. Such a good point. It's cool for us too, because we both work with people and their brand voice to watch it blossom, right?
Yeah,
It's cool to see people who have been stuck in that small box and they're like, oh, no one's ever asked me that before. And
yeah,
then suddenly their voice just explodes and their brand is full of personality and they're standing out in a unique way that they never thought of before. So I have to echo what you said. Sometimes the brand conversations can be the most fun as a copywriter and marketing consultant to just watch that transformation.
yeah, yeah.
And I wanted to give one more example of what you said because I think it's such an important point I want to emphasize for our audience is if you're new, if you're small and you're making yourself smaller, you're not doing anyone else favors, right?
Yeah.
People are waiting for that voice. And so, for example, like the shirt I'm wearing today is from a women-owned business who proudly exclaims, "We are about maximalism." I mean, look at this shirt. There's giant print with dogs on
Oh
it.
yeah,
Like,
oh I love it.
like you're not gonna find stuff like that everywhere, right? And so they are loud and proud, and they're like, this is a women-owned, maximalist, proud business. And it's called New Works if you ever want to go to their website and just check out their voice because they do not shy away from it. And sure, are there bigger brands out there that can produce more than limited batch items? Yes, but they are fully owning who they are, who they support, why they're here, and they have a internet full of fans because they stand up and talk in that way. They don't shrink into the box of, oh, we're women owned, but so many other businesses are women owned, so that doesn't make us unique. There are so many clothing brands out there. It's another women owned clothing brand. It's fine. Don't be self-deprecating. Stand up proud. Really show what you do, why you're proud of it, and let other people be proud for you. That's when you get that confidence to keep putting out content, talking to your audience in exciting ways, and your audience just grows and grows and grows. But you have to take that first step. You have to be the one that's confident and proud of yourself first. And it can be terrifying, but there are small business brands out there to inspire you. Hey, if they made it, I can make it too.
Mic drop moment. Yeah, and I do think that like you like so many good points there, but I think it makes showing up much easier, like when you like own that like uniqueness, or I feel like you don't need to be guessing so much, or like kind of reinventing yourself like again and again. Like that being said, your brand voice or your voice, of course, like develops as everything, but like when you're clear on like what you stand for, it's so much easier to like show up and take the space, and also yeah, inspire others. And as I always like to think that like keep creating this movement, or like where we're together, like using our businesses to make the world actually like better, more fair, more like
Yeah.
inclusive. So
We're gonna wrap this episode here in a minute, but first we want to share a few tips if you're thinking of rethinking your brand voice, you want to develop your personal brand, you're just starting out and you fell down the logo trap, but you've realized because of this episode that you need to spend a few minutes on brand voice. We're going to each share a couple things to think about as you take that journey. And always know that we're here for you. If you want to come to the next coffee chat and talk about brand voice, just send us a message and we'll make sure you get that. Or you can reach out to either of us separately to help you one-on-one with your brand voice. We'd be happy to do that. But to wrap this episode, my tips are to think of a brand you admire. Like I talked about, there are brands throughout this episode that I've used as inspiration in the past. Go diving into the internet of what other people are talking about, why you resonate with those stories, and then think of how you can use some of those themes or aspects of their storytelling that really stood out to you in your own brand voice. And then if you had to rebrand yourself today, what would you want to share if you had no fear? What would you
Mm.
want? How would you want to show up on the internet? Um, Maybe there's someone you admire that shares, their daily routine, and you really wish that you could be that transparent with your audience. I challenge you to try it for a week. Think of how you want to show up in the world and then just try it for a week. It can always be deleted. You can always go back and change it. Just a little push to try it. And then finally, if there's a memorable brand story that really resonated with you and you saw how it connected with their audience, I want you to think about who you speak to, whether it's your personal brand or your brand voice for your business. Who are you speaking to, and how can you connect with them in a similar way? We've talked about a couple ways as being an advocate, sharing your story as an advocate, sharing why you became vegan. Maybe it's one of those, maybe it's something else, but think about your audience, what their pain points are, and then the aspects of your own story that you could share with them. Johanna, what are your tips?
I was thinking about something like yeah practical on your social media if you're active. So go and check out your like let's say your last three posts and like read them out loud and think like does it sound like you or does it sound like the energy or like the vibe that you want to put into the world, and also like try to think about it from the point of view of your reader, like how do you think that it makes them feel or like how and I mean, if you want, if you use AI, like you can put it through ChatGPT and ask it to analyze or give you some feedback. But like this is to get an like especially if you haven't thought about brand voice so much, like this can give you like some intel on where you're at, or even if you know if you want to do a rebrand or be more conscious about it. And then I like this idea of actually like writing down kind of like a word or like phrase or term, like a library. Like what are word like things that you often say like that are really like you, and like actually like have them down like so that you know you're conscious of them and that you can yeah keep using them or change them if you want to, and like the opposite as well, like what is something that you definitely like words you don't want to use or like kind of the energy or the vibe beside like behind words, phrases, and especially if you're considering working with somebody or like delegating it, it's good to start documenting things like about your brand voice. And then a third one I was thinking like what is like what are like think like related to actually what you said before, Brie, like what are you holding back? Like what's the thing that you really want to say but you're holding back because you don't think it fits like this your brand or your field or sector, whatever, because it's too much or too weird or too out there, people wouldn't understand. And what if you said it anyways? Yeah.
Love that. Oh, what a mic drop moment to end on. What if you said it anyway? That encapsulates this whole episode because sometimes people are way too shy to have the brand voice that they actually want to have. What if you said it anyway?
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Johanna.
You're welcome. And thank you, Bree, and everybody listening. We hope this was useful. Let us know if you have if anything's unclear, if you have any questions, or if you have great examples, especially of like vegan brands that you admire who have a great voice.
Amazing. Till next time, everyone. Bye.
Bye.